Why did Jesus die for you? And what if I told you that his death wasn't just a distant episode from long ago, but a turning point that still today has the power to transform your story? Yes, this sentence sounds bold, but there is something about this death that can't be explained just with historical facts or religious arguments. There is a mystery that spans centuries, touches the deepest places of millions, and still awakens questions no one can ignore. The scene is already familiar. A man in his early 30s, innocent of any crime, brought to trial by religious and political leaders, humiliated before the crowd, mercilessly scourged and crucified as though he were the worst of criminals. But he was not a criminal. He had no wealth, did not lead rebellions, did not impose fear. He walked among the rejected, spoke with the forgotten, received the unwanted. And yet, he was eliminated in public violence as a warning to anyone daring to challenge the system. But why? Why did Jesus die? And even more, why do so many assert with such certainty that he died for you? The answer cannot be contained in one sentence. And perhaps that is precisely what makes it so powerful. Because this death was not simply the tragic end of a charismatic leader. It was the climax of a story written in detail millennia before. It was a planned offering, announced, and above all, voluntary. Jesus was not taken by surprise. He did not fall into a trap with no escape. He chose the path of the cross. And by doing so, he opened a wound in time that still heals loves today. Not merely as a symbol of sacrifice, but as a clear declaration. I see you, I know you, and even so, I die for you. During the time Jesus lived, the world was on the brink of a silent explosion. The land of Palestine was part of the vast Roman Empire, governed by rigid laws, heavy taxation, and constant surveillance. The Romans controlled the territory by force, while the local religious elite tried to maintain their power by balancing interests with the empire. The ordinary people lived tired of oppression, inequality, waiting. There was an ancient promise circulating among them. A Messiah would come to liberate them. Yet for the majority, this liberator would be a warrior, a political leader, someone capable of raising an army and expelling Rome. But then Jesus appears, and he did not come mounted on horses, nor gathering soldiers. He did not incite revolts. He did not distribute weapons. He spoke of love, of humility, of forgiveness. He sat with people society despised. He healed whom no one touched. He looked into the eyes of those the world pretended not to see. And this was deeply threatening. Because while many leaders aimed to preserve structures of power and control, Jesus revealed something completely different. A living, free faith that could not be manipulated. He openly questioned traditions that had become heavy, empty, and unjust. It wasn't an attack on religion. It was an invitation to return to its heart. And when someone exposes the hypocrisy of those who benefit from faith, when someone restores dignity to the forgotten, when someone shows that power is not held by a few, that someone becomes a problem, Jesus confronted those who used God's name to dominate, profit, and exclude. He dismantled discourses, removed masks, revealed what was behind appearances. And when you touch that which sustains power, reputation, money, influence, the reaction is inevitable. The cross was not just an instrument of execution. It was a message, an attempt to silence a movement. But that wasn't the whole story. Even before Jesus was born, ancient writings were already announcing something unusual. Prophecies scattered over centuries spoke of someone who would come not with glory, but with pain. A suffering servant, described in detail by the prophet Isaiah, who would be rejected, wounded, and crushed, not for his own mistakes, but for the people's. This mysterious figure would carry guilt that was not his own. He would be punished so others could be free. And although many did not understand it at the time, this prophecy pointed directly to Jesus. He did not enter the world unaware. He knew exactly what awaited him. From the beginning, every step he took was moving toward a destination he accepted out of love. Nothing was by chance. Every gesture, every miracle, every word spoken in the streets or synagogues carried the weight of a much greater plan. When John the Baptist saw him for the first time, he didn't just say, "Here is Jesus." He declared, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world." That phrase, at first poetic, carried profound meaning. In ancient times, the lamb was the symbol of sacrifice. Every year, the Jewish people celebrated Passover, remembering the liberation from Egypt, and as part of that ritual, a lamb was slain, symbolizing purity, substitution, forgiveness. It was the lamb's blood that marked the doors of homes, protecting them from destruction. By calling Jesus the Lamb of God, John was pointing to something grand. He would be the final sacrifice, the last, the definitive. He wouldn't just die as a consequence of an unjust system. He would offer himself. Jesus was not simply executed by political or religious forces. He surrendered, with consciousness, with courage, and above all, with compassion. The cross wasn't a surprise at the end of the story. It was the center of the plan from the beginning. The idea that Jesus died for us is the pulsating heart of the Christian faith. But what does that mean in practice? Is it just a religious metaphor? A symbol? Or is there something deeper behind that statement? In Christian tradition, this death is not viewed merely as an act of martyrdom. It is understood as a conscious substitution, a sacrifice made by someone innocent on behalf of all the guilty. And guilty, here, doesn't mean being a bad person in the generic sense. It means carrying within oneself all that, throughout life, drives us away from God. Pride, selfishness, lies, unresolved hurts, thoughtless decisions, hidden vices. It's that chasm between the Creator and the creature that Jesus came to close. He didn't look from afar with judgment. He entered human history. He assumed the weight of all humanity's mess. And more than that, he stepped into the place of one who deserved the punishment. It's as if life were a great courtroom, and each of us stood before the judge, without excuse, without alibi, without exit. And suddenly, someone rises and says, "I assume the sentence. Let this person go." That is the point. Jesus didn't die just out of generic love for humanity. He died to pay a debt that none of us could ever pay. And in doing so, he opened a path that was previously closed. A path of reconciliation, return, healing between the human and the divine. It's hard. It's brutal. It's not pretty or comfortable to imagine someone innocent being beaten, humiliated, and crucified. But it is precisely that brutality that reveals the depth of the love involved. He didn't just offer forgiveness. He paid the price of forgiveness. And that's what makes this death so transformative. But the most striking part comes now. He did it for you. Not for an indistinct mass of people. Not for humanity as a distant concept, but for you with all that this includes. With your doubts, your wounds, your mistakes. With the moments when you feel lost. With the questions you never dared to speak aloud, even if you don't believe. Even if you have pulled away. Even if you think you don't deserve it. This death was not generic, nor too symbolic to touch reality. It was personal, intentional, directed. It was as if Jesus, in the height of his pain, thought not just of the world, but you specifically. Of your story, of your pain, of your life. He went all the way into the human pit, where shame, fear, regret live, so that you'd never have to walk that place alone again. The cross is not just a religious symbol. It's a meeting point. The place where love went farther than any other dared to go. And all this to set you free. Free from the guilt that eats you from inside. From the fear that paralyzes. From the darkness that whispers you are worthless. To give you life, but not just any life. A life full of meaning, new start, reconnection with what is eternal. But not everyone sees this story the same way, and that's okay. Since the earliest centuries, theologians, thinkers, and spiritual leaders have debated what exactly happened on the cross and why. Some claim that Jesus paid a spiritual ransom, not to God, but to free humanity from an oppressive power, be it sin, evil, or the fear of death itself. Others say it was a radical demonstration of love, something so strong, so pure, that when witnessed, transforms the human heart from within. There are those who view the cross as a revolutionary symbol, a call for humanity to abandon the cycle of violence and oppression and embrace a new kind of life based on forgiveness, surrender, peace. These different views don't weaken the message. On the contrary, they show how deep this death is, too deep to fit in a single explanation. But in the end, the question that matters most isn't which theory is right. The real question is, what does this death mean for you? Because as much as the reasons may be debated, the impact only happens when this story crosses time, jumps off the pages, and touches your heart. Then yes, it stops being history and becomes transformation. Because if all of this is true, if the Son of God truly surrendered himself with awareness, out of deep, unconditional love, if the cross is more than wood and blood, more than an ancient execution, and in fact, the greatest act of sacrifice the world has ever witnessed, then your life has immeasurable value. A value perhaps no one ever told you. Maybe you haven't even realized it, but it's real. You are not an accident. You are not defined by your mistakes, nor are you bound to a past that keeps chasing you. Because before the cross, all that weighed you down, guilt, shame, regrets, frustrations, has already been carried, was absorbed by someone who chose to love you even before you existed. And that's why the weight of your story no longer defines you. No matter what you did, no matter how far you strayed, the cross isn't interested in who you were, but in who you can still become. There is forgiveness. There is new beginning. There is purpose. And all of this begins with a choice, not with a change of religion, not with empty promises, but with a sincere decision. Believe, draw close, live differently, not out of fear, but out of gratitude, because someone saw value in you, even when you didn't see it. Now that you know why Jesus died, and that he did it for you, with intention, with love, and with purpose, the inevitable question is, what will you do with it? This isn't just another pretty story to stir emotion. It's a truth that, if embraced, has the power to redefine your entire life. Because understanding the reason for Jesus' death isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new one. Perhaps until now, you've carried doubts, wounds, and emptiness no one could fill. Perhaps you've grown used to merely surviving. But now you've heard there is a different way, a way opened by blood, but sustained by love. And if this touched your heart, if it made you think, if it awakened something inside you, don't ignore it. Let this truth grow within you. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the journey is just beginning. In the next episode, we will dive into one of the deepest questions of faith. What does being born again in Christ mean? It's not just a nice phrase. It's a real, radical, possible transformation. You won't want to miss it. See you there.